It's Em, here to talk about A Drop of Corruption, which is the second in the Anna and Din mystery series by Robert Jackson Bennett. I read the first, The Tainted Cup, earlier this year. I will try to remember to make that the link at the end of this video. But suffice it to say, I like this book as much, pretty much, as the first book, which means it falls somewhere between 4 and 4.5 stars. I think what works for me as somebody who doesn't read a lot of fantasy is that these books are mystery forward, and the fantasy world, which is very interesting and very detailed and well done, is still ancillary to the mystery. The mysteries themselves are embedded in the fantasy world. Both of these have had political undercurrents specific to this fantasy world, but that hasn't detracted from just the fact that the mysteries are pretty well crafted. They do keep you guessing. You can see things going in a number of different ways. Now, I will say in this one, when we met the person who ultimately ended up being the villain, I pretty much had him pegged right away, but I still had doubts as I was reading. Like, I could be wrong, and I really like that in a mystery, because a lot of mysteries I figure out pretty early. Just as somebody who's read a lot of mysteries and writes a few mysteries, it gets harder to keep me in suspense than it used to be. But yeah, so in this one, again, told from Din's point of view, he is basically the assistant, the Watson to the character Anna's Holmes. She can't have too much stimulation, so she tends to stay in a room blindfolded, and Din delivers information to her for her to sort through and suss out what's going on. He is an engraver, which means that anywhere he goes, he can have basically a photographic memory of everything he sees, anything that's said. So that's obviously very helpful, because she can be like, repeat to me verbatim, describe it exactly, whatever. And yeah, this is set in a place called Yarrow, which is its own kingdom, but it has a contract to join the empire that Din and Anna are part of, the justice system of. And that's supposed to happen sometime in the next decade or so. The contract was signed like 100 years before. And obviously some of the citizens of Yarrow are not really happy about becoming part of the empire, and some are welcoming it, So there's some back and forth. There's some questionable cultural things in Yarrow, namely servants that are really more like slaves, because they're perpetuated by, if you were born one of these servants, your kids will also all be servants. There's not really a way to level up. It's kind of a caste-esque thing. But yeah, we get the wardens, who serve the empire but are, more or less from Yarrow, and they have enhanced senses of smell and hearing, so they can track people through the kind of jungly area that Yarrow inhabits. Yarrow has a coastline, and Yarrow is important to the empire because that is where they basically take the Leviathan carcasses. If you remember from the first book, the Leviathans are these huge creatures that during the wet season come up out of the ocean and more or less threaten the land. So there's a whole concentration of legionnaires whose whole job is to protect the inland from these Leviathan, but there's also, when the Leviathan are killed, the carcasses are shipped up to Yarrow to be stripped down, basically, because a lot of what the Empire uses to enhance people, to make these enhancements on people, is developed from bits of these Leviathan, their blood and whatnot. So it's a complex system and complicated political stuff, and it seems like magic, but there seems also to be like supposedly a scientific underpinning to that, which is why I'm not putting this book in my supernatural square on my bingo board because I don't think it really counts as supernatural, even though some of what happens feels like it could be supernatural. It could, be chalked up to some kind of magic abilities, or, it's really, supposedly in the way these are written, it's more like the people are enhanced via various scientific methods. So what we have is basically a Moriarty type character that is pitted against Anna. He's very clever. He's kind of 30 steps ahead. Anna's getting increasingly frustrated. But she also kind of admires him because this is the Holmes Moriarty thing. And then in the end, she's actually a little bit disappointed in how it all falls out. We get also a little bit more about Din and his family situation and the debts he's in. The reason he let himself be enhanced to become an engraver was to help pay off these debts and, keep his family afloat. They were his father's debts. And we get a peek at what might be going on with Anna as well, as far as who she really is, what she really is, that kind of thing. We get some crumbs dropped there. And again, even from the first book, I kind of had a sense of what that might be, and this just helped confirm some of that. But yeah, it's a good book. It's a little bit longer than the first one. I think the first one was 400 pages-ish, and this one was more like 450. But I enjoyed it. Like I said, 4 to 4.5 stars. I'll probably read the third one at some point. I think it's out sometime this year. I'm not even sure, but I've got plenty of other things I need to read and catch up on first. I've got a library book that's due in a week, so I really need to get through that, and then we'll see. I think I've got 2 more Heaven Officials Blessings to read to finish that series as well. So those are all on the list for what's next. But if you've read these books, I would like to know your thoughts. Again, I'm not a fantasy reader, but when I heard these described, I honestly thought it was set in Victorian London or something, that it was going to be something a little more like A Marvelous Light in that series. It isn't. It's very different, but as somebody who doesn't read fantasy, I still really like these, for whatever that's worth. Again, because they're mystery forward, and I am a mystery reader and writer. So, yeah. Let me know your thoughts on these. Let me know if there are other books similar to this that I might like. Oh, and if you didn't see my post, my book Manifesting Destiny won a couple of BookFest awards this weekend. It got second place in fantasy, dragons and mythical creatures, and second place in YA, which is young adult dystopian. So if you like either of those things and you haven't read Manifesting Destiny yet, consider picking that up. I will leave a link in the description. And until next time, take care.